The worst thing ever is not divorce. The worst thing ever is to be in a crappy marriage for decade after decade after decade. People will say, I fight a lot with my spouse, with my partner. Is it normal? Is it healthy?
If we're fighting, should we even be together?
The goal of all this is for the best of you to come out at the worst of times. Who your partner is in a fight is perhaps one of the most accurate versions of who they really are.
What do you think is a good fight to have? Like, what's a good, worthy fight?
A worthy fight to have is this. Lights On is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's okay to struggle. Real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying and doing something about it so you can be at your best for yourself and for the people in your life that you love. Therapy, it's not just about trauma. It's about learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries in your life that create new freedom. With over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people. And it works too, with an App Store rating of 4.9 based on over 1.7 million client reviews. And it's convenient. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapy and therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a variety of expertise. So talk it out with BetterHelp. So our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/lightson. That's BetterHelp.com/lightson. Welcome back to Lights On. I'm joined today by my co-host Roberto Duran, aka Ronda Rousey.
In her late era.
In her late era is how we pronounced it. Hey, we're really glad you're here.
Tom
Lights
Selleck
On.
is here with me.
Hey.
See that starshie?
I know how you feel about Tom Selleck, and I just decided to lean into it. We'll just leave it there, okay? Let's just say Tom Selleck had an amazing run on Friends.
Yep.
Created your ideal man
I love
template.
him. Hey, I watched him before that, though. I watched him on
Okay.
Magnum PI back in Australia. We had that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the way you say
now
that.
I'm really old.
But I love you. Glad you're here, and we love you. Lights On listeners, thank you for tuning in. Glad you're here. We got a great episode today because we are going to get into.
Do you want to discuss my eye? Or you're just going to make him think that?
I'm about to get there. So if you're listening somewhere, audio only, my wife has an epic black eye. She has she broke her elbow, might have fractured her orbital bone. Yeah. And now, as it stands, has this beautiful shiner, which makes me feel awkward everywhere in public. I was going to get a shirt that said, "My wife had a scooter accident. Relax." Yeah. Because of the eyeballs that I get.
Definitely.
How do you feel after your face had that meeting with the concrete?
Honestly, that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I am grateful to be here.
Man.
But I think I've got a little concussion, so
you had a big concussion.
Bear with me.
You're still mildly concussed.
Yeah, but I'm good.
No, it was scary. I mean, we were on a scooter ride with our best friends who were in town from Virginia Beach, and Laura does her little Aussie thing where she's a surfer. She's
and I was barefoot, so that was great.
She crushes stuff like that, but she dodged a branch, and the wheel caught something, and she hit her face straight on the concrete, and her head was gushing blood, face turned white, and I freaked out. And it was a very scary 48 hours, so I'm really grateful that we have you. All the kids, it was very funny. After we knew we were going to be okay, we all looked at each other. We were like, if something were to happen to Mom, we just all going to have to go together. Like, the kids were like, we would starve. We would die.
Hold hands and walk into the ocean.
No, but it was a good clarity moment for all of us. It reminds us to give people their flowers while they're still here, because we are grateful for you. I think our whole family floods you with that. But my gosh, just the thought of you not being yourself was mildly traumatic for all of us. So
you did cry a few times.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, you're just never helpless. Yeah, to see you go all the way, guns down, laying there scared. That's how strong you are. And so I'm just grateful that you're here.
I'm grateful too. Grateful I didn't have to have surgery or anything major. So I'm
broken elbow. And this episode's cool. I think we are we're loving what you said really matters. And I've always wanted this, these conversations to revolve around what helps people the most. And we've got some stuff today that I think is really going to help you wherever you're at. If you want healthy relationships, if you want to avoid, getting in long-term commitments with the wrong people, if you want to, even if you are in a relationship that you do not love right now, we got some ways I think that can help people hopefully move forward. It's a huge deal, and everybody talks about it. And I feel like when we get a chance to, it's cool to give people perspective from where we're coming from. And how do you feel about tackling this? Because we got two really big things that we're going to kind of hit on.
Yeah, I think this is an awesome conversation to have, because marriage gets such a bad rap.
It does.
And being able to doesn't get a bad rap, but there's a lot of,
a bad rap. We can stand on that thing.
I just think it's cool that there is hope for people, and we are a product of that hope, because a lot of people saw our story and know our deepest, darkest pain, the deepest, darkest pain we went through. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was public. A lot of people go through the same stuff, if not worse than us, and they get to do that privately. But that's the whole point of why we did this pod, is to really give people hope for things like marriage and relationships.
Yeah, and you can say what you want about our marriage. Like we all talk about people's marriages. You can say what you want about ours. The fact is, we've done something right and do something right because we made it through some of that. It's like, so I think when I look at the angle that we're speaking this from, it's not from relational experts. It's from people that are, going through life like everybody else. And something that God has helped us create was able to get us through valleys we should not have walked out of. And I'm proud of that. I think it's cool. I think there's an angle where it's like, if you go through stuff, you shouldn't talk about it. And I'm like, this depends on how you hold it.
Right.
I'm like, there are couples that you can listen to that have had really flawless integrity in their marriage. There's a huge lane for that. I clap for those couples. They're amazing. And we just happen to be on a different page where we have been through some stuff. And I will tell you this is cool. So in our previous season in New York, we get stopped all the time, daily. From people saying kind things to us, thanking us, and especially with the preaching stuff, people would always say the same thing to me. They'd be like, thank you for your messages. They really helped me want to pursue Jesus more, love the lost, like go after people. And I was always like, that's great. And then in this chapter, not a day will go by where someone won't stop me, whether it's coffee shop, airport, whatever, and they say the same thing. Hey, thank you for sharing about this stuff. Because I've got my stuff.
Right.
And when I hear you guys talk, it gives me hope to keep going. And I got to be honest with you, I'll take the latter over the former. It was always cool to hear people go, you preach the message and it really helped me go reach the world. And that's cool. But to hear people sometimes with tears in their eyes, especially when it's men who just go, hey, thanks. Thanks for what y'all are talking about. I'm grateful to do it. It's a fun part of the redemption journey, is to be able to use what was supposed to kill you and use it to bring somebody else life. So, in that vein, I think there are a few things people can do to save themselves from horrific trauma, horrific experiences when it comes to relationships. And it's really common when we find the wounds that people are dealing with. Relationships are not that unique. And so our life right now is immersed with the beautiful opportunity we have to help couples.
Yeah.
And we've just realized through your emails, DMs, and through just face-to-face convo, there are a few things, and people are always like, what are some of the major freaking things? And we're not always going to talk about relationships, but I love it when we do, because today's good, because there are some things you can do to prepare yourself for relationships that are healthy. For those who want to fight for health, this isn't about marriage today. This is about relational health, and marriage is involved in it. We got some hope, some angles, so we can attack it from that area. Some of the most common and perhaps some of the most important things we get asked. We pick two. Some of the most common questions and wounds and threads, and you take it where you want, Evander Holyfield. I'll follow your lead. We had fun talking about this.
We do.
Because, as you listen to this, think about your relationships. Think about what might have gone into them, what you might not know.
Yeah.
What you might be accepting that you do not have to accept, which I love to talk about. But kick off the first one. We're only going to do 17. I'm just kidding. We're going to do 2.
Well, I think a good one is, what kind of fights, conversations, conflicts should we be having in a relationship? And is that healthy and normal to even do that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And that is one of the most common ones. People will say, I fight a lot with my spouse, with my partner. Is it normal? Is it healthy? And our response is always layered and nuanced because it's a great question. Confrontation in general can be the most amazing bridge to clarity.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we always tell people. So it's not necessarily bad. I like to ask if you're having the right kind of fights. Because if you are, even the biggest fight can be the biggest growth point. So we broke it down a really easy way. So if that's you right now and you're like, what kind of fights should we be having?
Well, I think a lot of people think we're fighting too much or whatever. Like, what's too much? What's too little?
Right.
And then if we're fighting, should we even be together? Like, what? Because I think there's this kind of stigma of, well, if you're in the right relationship, a healthy relationship, there shouldn't be any conflict. And I don't agree.
Well, if there's no tension, there's no growth in life.
Right.
So to use that kind of metaphor, that word picture across life, if that was true, if it's only good if things aren't going, if it's only good if there's no conflict, I don't think it rings true anywhere else in life. So that's true in marriage. It's true in your relationship. So the question is, what kind of fights do we think, from our perspective, are healthy? And this is how I break it down for people. I like looking at this metric. Like, what is your fight frequency? You can break it down like this. You've got many little fights, respectful middle ground disagreements, and then you've got no fights. So that's the frequency list. So with many little fights, that equals many big problems.
Right.
Many little, many big problems. Nitpicking, short answers, complaining. These are issues.
I think women are really good at that part. The nitpicking and all the little things.
Yeah.
We can get stuck in there a little bit.
Well,
I do.
Well, we've learned that when this happens, it's probably not about us.
Yeah.
It's about an outside pressure situation.
Right.
And that's a big deal. And we've been able to corral that because there have been seasons of our marriage where we fight about everything. And then you look back on it now, you're like, okay, that wasn't about you. I was frustrated with something else, and you're the easiest target. And maybe even vice versa. Sometimes when you have your one bad day a year, you can start nitpicking. And I always know right away she's stressed about something else because she doesn't care about this.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the many little fights, it's going to lead to many big problems if you don't know what to do with it. And the second one on the frequency list is respectful middle ground disagreements. These are healthy. These are regular. I like being there. So if you're in your relationship and you have healthy disagreement, this is like missed assumptions, needs not being met, inadequate
hurt feelings.
Feelings. That stuff has to happen. Otherwise, you're just not a human being.
Right.
And we talk to young couples a lot who are like, we're having these disagreements. And I'm like, yeah, it's because there's two people trying to become one. What did you think was going to happen? And we don't do a good job in Christendom of explaining what that can really look like. We do a beautiful job on the wedding day talking about how you're going to become one. Two become one. Walk that out for me. Two becoming one. It's not as cool as it sounds.
Right.
There are times when that's really hard and really beautiful. But that to me, on the frequency checklist, that's what you want to look for. We have middle ground disagreements. And then the third one is the no fights ever. So two things are happening if you have no fights in your relationship. Number one, you are part of the 0.001% of couples that are so awesome you don't fight. Great. Round of applause for those people and the angels that surround them at all times. Most of the time outside of that, if you're around a couple and they don't fight at all, and there's no conflict, typically points to the fact there's not a whole lot of connection and there's not a whole lot of consistency. So you have people that have adapted to their own worlds. Therefore, there's no reason to fight. You have your world, I have mine. Outside, it looks great.
Right.
But if you're inside that marriage or that relationship, what people will say is that we don't fight because we don't care enough anymore to bring that stuff up.
You become like roommates.
That's a pretty dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth looking at. So if you're thinking about what fights are you having right now with the people that you love, I think our biggest fights over the years, if we were to trace back this metric, the seasons where we don't have a lot of fights, but it's cold and distant, not healthy.
Right.
The seasons where we have the nitpicking fights, that's annoying and irritating. But the place we're at now, we had a beautiful fight yesterday. It was awesome. It was a missed assumption on my end, a frustration on your end.
Yeah.
We had the luxury of having an eyewitness,
sure
our daughter,
did.
in the back, but we were committed to just having real conversations. And
Our 21-year-old, so don't worry, she's
Yeah.
an adult now, officially.
yeah, but it was funny because after you got out of the car, I talked to Ava. I said, "What did you see during that disagreement with your mother?" And she said, "Well," she pointed out a couple of things to me, and she said, "That's what I see, but I don't want you." I said, "Don't finish the sentence. Thank you for your observation. All of what you just said is true." And I said, "I'm going to go finish this with your mom. I'm going to go close the door here, and on the argument. And our kids know that's the rhythm, but without the ability to actually, I told you, I said, I just want to have a moment. And you're like, well, your moments affect everybody else's moments. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. It's also called being a dad. You don't have the luxury. You can't be like, I'm the leader of this household when it feels good.
Right.
Well, when you're doing your moody thing, it affects everybody. And I had to have a self-pity moment of like, I can't ever have a mood. No, I can't. I chose that. I can, but I can handle it better. But that was a great disagreement because it lasted about an hour. We worked it out. And that to me is a sign of health because we've worked really hard to get there.
Yeah.
There have been times when a fight like that would go for days.
Yeah, 100%.
Ooh, vindictive
Well, 'cause
eye roll coming my way.
Yeah, well, I was the stuffer. Like, I would just push everything down and not make it a big deal, keep it. And then just whatever you said, I'd just be like, cool, yep, yep, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
which creates a volcanic, visceral reaction.
Because then
for me.
you just, yeah.
So, and this is a key point on some of this, and I want you to listen closely to this because it really, really does matter. Who your partner is in a fight is perhaps one of the most accurate versions of who they really are. So we typically apologize this away, but what we've learned is that, man, you can find out a lot of data about who you're with by who they are in that moment. I don't want to see you on the Great Monday Morning. I don't want to see your best on, at this time of the week when you are going at it. That's a really good glimpse. Doesn't mean you have to judge them and they don't have to stay there forever, but you need to start taking account for what is that person like in a fight when they're pressured,
When under
when
pressure,
they don't feel good, when they feel like they're out of control. Who is that person? And if that scares you as you listen, good, because it is a great snapshot of what could become a movie that you do not want to be a part of.
Yeah.
You've said this to a lot of women
yeah.
who will be honest about what their husbands say during fights.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it also, when there's that pressure going on, that really shows who that man is. And it can be very dysregulating for a woman. And and for whoever's, the man fighting, it's dysregulated your nervous system as well. So it's like you've got two people going at it who are completely out of their normal mind.
Yeah.
And you're really not going to get a resolution at that time.
Right.
So you have to get to a place where you can speak calmly.
Lights On is partnering with Plana.org. It's a phenomenal organization that is built to empower women who have faced with all kinds of unexpected circumstances, especially when it comes to pregnancy. And they offer support, they offer tools, they offer community. And if you wanted to know how can I immediately help somebody who really needs it, check out Plana.org today. We love them, you will too. And you can make a difference in the life of somebody today just by checking them out. Plana.org. We love y'all.
Talk things through without that rage.
Okay, let me hang on that word for a second because I heard someone say this to me. Big rage means little man.
Just like
Big rage
I can't say that. Yeah.
means little man.
100%.
And it is very true. So when you see a dude get out of his car and like rage,
Yep.
he's raging at his wife, he doesn't realize he's exposing himself to be a man of little security,
Insecure, yeah.
little stature, little esteem, and it's very, very easy to fix.
Yep.
Once you will be willing to own it. But when you fight with that person, man or woman, is she volatile? Is she ragey? Does she use cutting words? Who is that person? Because that's who you're going to see for the long run.
Yep.
So it's worth taking a look at what I love about you. You're such a consistent human that you're great in fights, and it's frustrating. Like you will always look to be peaceful. You will over-own stuff. I've doubled down on fights.
I've been mad at you for something, and then I've been mad at your response because you're not mad enough about the mad of my response.
Well, that's how different.
And then you have your limit.
personalities.
And then you have your limit. It's so beautiful. It's very, very trademark for you. You'll just sit there. You'll try to work it out. And if I am going too far, you'll, you know what, mate? Fuck off, mate. How about that? Mate? And I'm like, ooh, I think
You've
I've gone
taken
too
it too
far.
far.
Because for you to go there,
Yeah.
I've realized my nervous system's out of whack.
That's my like cut. When it gets
Yeah.
to that point, I'm like, I'm done. You do not get to speak to me like that,
Yeah.
and I just will be done.
And that is
You can't-
rare now.
Yeah, 100%.
But when that thing comes out, I'm like, okay, this is 100% on me because you've done, and you had to work on stepping into fights more.
Yes.
Because there are times where I'm trying to talk
Well, I
to
come from a family that don't fight that much because they're both. My parents are amazing. They have their arguments like
Yeah.
anyone, but they were always they're peaceful people.
Yeah.
And me and my sister are peaceful people. So it's like our whole family is we just want peace.
Yeah.
And so we had to work really hard at communicate. I had to work really hard. We've talked about this before
Yeah.
on the pod, but communicating my feelings has been one thing that I've really had to work on.
If we had to describe our two different fighting family atmospheres that we had to connect on,
Mm-hmm.
the Lentz family would be a neon sign. The Brett family would be a candle. That's what we had to merge.
100%.
We are neon. Kathy, neon. Steve, bold. My
Yeah.
sisters. We used to fight.
Yeah, you've got 3 sisters. It's going to happen.
The first time we were at your house when we were dating, you had a bowl of tomato soup.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad said, we were like 21 at this time?
Yeah, my dad, we'd just gotten brand new carpet though too, like
but
white carpet.
You spilled the tomato soup on the carpet and you were devastated. You're crying and you're like, my dad's going to be so mad. Wait until you see what he does when he gets home. Your dad, Kevin Brett, he walks in and he goes, Lozzie, let's not do soup on the carpet. And you were devastated. I went, when is something bad going to happen? You were like, did you see how mad he was? I was like, mad.
Because you don't want to disappoint your parent. My dad was always like, I don't want to disappoint him. And that was the biggest
And it's
thing.
making you tear up
No,
right now.
just because I'm laughing at it.
But
Because it's
that's
so
such
funny.
a beautiful picture where we're neon over here on the Lentz side.
Yes, you are.
Like,
Well,
you
the first time I was
you
at
left the
your
door
house-
open, what? Yeah.
First time I was at your family's house, I was like, I had to sit in a corner for a second to.
yeah.
I was completely dysregulated because it's
Absolutely.
like
We're gonna
there's
bring
just
the
a
heat.
lot of there's just a lot of personalities and a lot of loudness and
Oh yeah.
it's a big family. And
Yeah.
I came from a quiet like 2
Yeah.
girls and mum and dad.
You guys speak to each other 3 times a year. It's awesome though because we're able to use that in the next. One of the pods we got coming up, I had a conversation with Ava about templates, how to pick a template for the boy you want to date. And some of this is going to trace back to that, but you have to take account for that. Like that's why our fighting style has had to graduate over the years because you're coming from no fight. I'm coming from all fight.
Right.
And it takes a while to get that rhythm,
Yep.
but you got to be up for that. You know, you got to be able to own both sides of that. So I think the goal of all this is for the best of you to come out at the worst of times. That's my goal as a man, as a husband. I don't judge myself on how I'm doing when it's great. I judge myself how I'm doing on my own healing. How do I respond in the worst moments?
times.
And I think I'm getting better. I'm not
You
going to
are.
overdo it, but there are areas now where even yesterday to be able to calm myself because I felt rightfully upset about something, but we had to go take care of our son's birthday, which is it's only going to happen on the way to church, on the way to
Church,
something
birthdays,
public or something where
events.
you have to be present and you're like, I don't want to be present. I want to fight with you. But to be able to pull it back together,
Yeah, we did good.
But that's the goal. So I want, as you listen to this, can it be said of you when the situation is at its most pressure packed? Is that when the most grace comes out of you? Ooh, it's a lofty goal. I want to be like you in that regard because you are almost unflappable. Like you're just beautiful across the board. It sucks sometimes because I want. I remember we were going through our marriage reconstruction stuff. I was trying to like make up stories about bad things you might have done just to feel better. I'm like, are you sure you didn't cheat on anybody in high school? Never once. I was asking you to make up stories.
Yeah. Oh
but
my God.
that's a beautiful thing about living a life of integrity. But you're the model. You lead the way
on that front for our family, and it's a beautiful challenge for me to wake up and know I got to lift my game because my wife's game is already, Roberto Duran over there. Yeah, she's going to bring the heat.
Well, then it comes out in your kids at some point too, because kids see it, they sense it, they feel it, they hear it sometimes, all of those things. And I think some of those, you got to realize that like your kids are hearing how you and your husband or wife communicate in arguments, and they're going to carry that legacy on.
Times two, though.
Times two. So that's a scary thing. And it's like, even if you think they're not hearing or you're hiding in a bedroom or whatever, wherever you are fighting, they know. Yeah. They just know, and they know when dad's mad, they know when mom's mad. So it's
this sucked yesterday about
I know.
Ava. I said, Ava, because I was I'm not defensive with her, but I said, okay, I hear what you're saying. I was like, but the way that I say, she goes, Dad, it's not what you're saying. It's your breathing. It's your facial expressions. It's the way you moved in the seat. I went,
your tone.
I went, oh my gosh, not only are you right, but I've been railing Roman for all of his wildly obvious body language things that he doesn't know he has. Like my son will roll his eyes at me, and then I'll go, don't roll your eyes. He goes, I didn't roll my eyes. And I'm like, oh, you don't breathe like that. I didn't breathe like that. And then I realized yesterday when Ava, my daughter, calls me out, which is a beautiful part of having an adult child that is on the level, and which I encourage her.
Well, she's not afraid of confrontation either.
No, she's got a double portion of me and my mama.
Yes, she does.
She's going to bring some Kathy Lentz flavor to the picnic every time. But it was cool because I had to check myself, and I went, that's why I'm dealing with it in Roman now. Right. Because God gifted us with a personality that can take the air out of a room or fill it up with some grace.
Yes.
And so it was a very funny, real part of our journey. How about this? How about this quote? And it can be controversial, but hear it for what it is. Drunk lips speak sober truths. Believe the insults, don't believe the apologies. When I heard that, I told the person, yes, there's truth to it. There's obviously, there's some grace that can be mixed, but if that phrase, drunk lips speak sober truths, what they were referring to is often if you have an alcoholic or you've had addict, they will say a whole bunch of stuff when they're spinning out, and then the next day they'll regret it and they'll apologize. But that's kind of who they were. And so they teach you, don't believe the apologies more than you believe what was said. And it's hard to hear, but it's true about, you take the drunk out of it, angry lips.
Just angry or like ragey.
Repressed rage lips, whatever it is, sober truths. So it's something to be mindful of. Let me get a little bit of a drink here. We're drinking alcohol today, guys. Okay, this is great. Idea for growth. So if you're listening to this already, you're like, all right, my fighting style with my spouse, maybe it's a red flag for you, maybe it's a yellow, maybe it's a green, maybe you're doing great. Here's an idea for everybody. Write down words and phrases that you both agree will never be said. And if they are said, you know exactly what you're saying, and you got to be held accountable for it. Let me say it again. Idea for growth. In a good moment, write down words and phrases that you both agree will never be said. And if they are said again, you have to be accountable for them. And this works really well for us because what we found out through the work that we're doing now is what happens behind closed doors is ugly with people. And you can't figure out why couples have that icy feel when they're trying to stay together or work through stuff. But what's happening behind closed doors is the rules go out the window. So we have very strict and really beautiful boundaries for our language. And we don't curse at each other.
Right.
We don't say you always, you never. You don't use my past as a weapon. You can use it for reference.
Right.
Big difference. So there's a lot of guys who are in shoes like mine where I've made mistakes that are big and broken your trust. And I can't expect you to not use that. It's real. I got to hold it, but you never use it in a shameful way.
Right.
And that's
I think
huge.
that's the difference. And I think a lot of women, we can weaponize anything, especially when we're hurt and feeling broken and betrayed. It's very valid that you could use that. I never wanted to. I don't think it's smart, and I don't think it's a kind way to get anywhere. If anything, it puts the person already in shame in a deeper spiral of shame. And I just don't think it's healthy at all.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people that would like to copy your spirit on that, copy and paste it on the person they have to look to, because
it's hard.
You have the right.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you wanted to. It's not, do I have the right? It's what's most resourceful. Do you have the right to be like, well, you cheated, so right. I can be late. I can be late to pick up the kids or whatever. Like, there are wives and women who will use what they say they've forgiven somebody for as a weapon. So you're a hypocrite. Mm-hmm. You're not being honest, because if you forgave me and you have given me trust to walk forward, and then you continually use what I've done as a way to re-shame me, there's some work that needs to be done on your side of the tracks.
Right. Well, it just holds everything up.
Everything up.
That's the bottom line.
And nobody has time for that. Words like, I will leave you, I will divorce you, we'll get a divorce. Like, we've never used that ever. Couples use that frequently. You just got to be accountable for that.
It was talked about, in the beginning of all of our stuff.
Oh,
but it's
we
like
had business meetings about it.
Right. But it's not like used
in
as
the
a
middle
weapon.
of a fight. Like, I'll leave you, and I'll say this to the incredible men that are brave enough to look in the mirror on this one. When you say things to your wife or the woman that you love behind closed doors that's harsh and mean, you might try to pull it back, and you can, but the imprint is left. It's kind of like when someone makes fun of you about something that's not true, but it still gets you.
It hurts you, yeah.
You're like, do I have big feet? It's like, it takes you years to get over it. Well, if you are in a fight with your wife and you say, I hate you and I wish I was never married to you, and you make me wish that I was still single, and then 2 days later you apologize for that, cool.
That's fine, but you
understand the impact is there. You cannot demand somebody heal over that. And then on top of that, don't do it again. Mm-hmm. There are other things that can be said, but that takes regulation on a man's part to be able to control yourself. Remember, big rage, little man. Big rage, little man. The next time you see a dude raging, just think to yourself, that's a little guy.
Oh, little buddy.
He's a sweet little guy.
I've caught myself raging.
After I got that in my own heart.
It's so good.
I was like, I refuse to be that guy. Now I see other dudes raging, and I'm like, my guy, it's indicative of who you are on the inside. Mm-hmm. You've never seen a really strong man rage. Ever. No. Our template for anger with purpose is Jesus, cracking whips, turning over tables. Anger with purpose is a lot different than rage. Mm-hmm. So it's something to think about. Other helpful fact: we've become de facto youth pastors again.
You sure have.
Funny how life will come, full circle on you, because our house is filled with epic young people. And in this season of life, I'm extracting as much info as I can. One thing we've learned from talking to young people, even our own kids, if you don't finish the fight you started in front of them,
right,
it builds anxiety.
Yep.
And there are a lot of kids who will see their parents fight, hear their parents fight. No resolution is talked about.
Yeah.
And so these young soul templates are wondering, are mom and dad okay?
Yep.
Are they going to get a divorce?
Well,
that
especially
builds on the next one, on the next one, on the next one. And you can't figure out why your kid lives with anxiety. It's because they haven't seen anything get closed. They saw a lot of fights open up.
They see the fights, but then parents usually go for days, weeks without talking, and then all of a sudden it's back to normal, and then the kids are like, they're anxious for a week, wondering if mom and dad are okay. Yeah, it's a lot.
Even more diabolical is that if a kid says to their friend, my parents are fighting, TikTok will hear them, and their algorithm will be filled with other kids saying the same things, horror stories about their parents, horror stories about the house they grew up in. Yep. And now your kid is getting sucked into a diabolical, evil black hole, and it creates a pair of goggles that is really, really damaging. So our thing is to immediately, hey, I know you saw me and mom going at it.
Yep.
Here's what we learned in that squabble. I like using the word squabble. It's a little bit country. And we're okay.
Yep.
We worked it out. Just want you to know that. And our kids
need to know that.
They have to know it. So if you fight in front of them, you got to land the plane in front of them.
Even if they're little, like teenagers, yes, but even not little, but where they're understanding and they're seeing things, I think it's really important to put your child at ease, that they know that we've talked about it. And it's a healthy way to communicate for kids to learn. They need to learn because they're going to have their own relationships one day, and they need to know how to have a good, healthy conflict.
It's actually what Ava said to me. She said, actually, I really love watching that. And I said, I actually thought about having the convo with Mom later outside of the car, but I'm glad we had it in front of you. You've earned the right, and your feedback is accepted.
Yeah.
And your observations are legitimate. You know, you're young and you're wise. So, yeah.
But what do you think is a good fight to have? Like, what's a good worthy fight?
A worthy fight to have is this: who's more honest, me or you? If that is the common fight in your marriage, you're going to have a great one in your relationship. Like, you don't have to wait till you're married to do this. If you're listening and you are a single man or woman trying to figure out the landscape, start honest. A lot of the culture today, you're starting false with your filter, firstly.
Don't even
You
get me
don't
started.
look like who you're portraying. So you're already starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
But if you can build a relationship with somebody where your major fight is, I'm more honest. No, you're more honest. No, who's more open? You're more open. I think that's where the beauty is, because so much relational damage is done by people who are just truly not honest. This has bit us many times.
Yeah.
And it bites any couple if they're honest. But you can trace almost every marriage breakdown to, at some point, there is a honesty moment that was missed. And here's what it looks like when somebody's not being truly honest. So if you have a notepad and you are ready to at least send this to someone who's guilty of it, I'm kidding. Ideally, you're going to look in the mirror first. Here are the symptoms of couples that are not honest: passive-aggressive buildup, secret ways to cope, and open doors for bad things. That's when you hear a guy say something like, she really gets me at work.
Yeah.
That's why I talk to her. The passive-aggressive buildup, that's just never saying what you really, really want to say. You just say everything around it. Other couples have more groceries.
What?
Do you want me to fill the pantry? I'm just saying. You're just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying is a part of our no words.
Just
like,
saying,
we don't
yeah.
say that in our household at all, because it's the word just saying.
It's passive aggressive.
Are you just saying? You're actually just saying more. Stop it with the I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just here to say. Say what you got to say. So passive aggressive stuff. But the secret ways to cope is the diabolical one. That's what happens when a man isn't honest and a woman isn't honest with each other. If there's a competition worth having, it's who's more honest. Leads me to the banger, though, which we've talked about. This is typically after we talk to a couple, we'll get in the car and we'll go, ugh. And that sound we make comes from this. The challenge here is, can you handle honest?
Yes.
Some people are so insecure that they cannot handle honesty like they think they can. You say you want it, but it's the same way how people will avoid looking at their bank account, and because they want to go spend. You say you want to see how much money you have, but you really don't. Yeah. Otherwise, you check it all the time. That's how it is with honesty, especially in a marriage. Like, if a man gets honest, the wife gets more insecure and now weaponizes it. The woman gets honest, the man gets ragey and he shuts down. You know this is true from the women that you've talked to.
100%.
They want honesty.
They want it, but they can't
when they
handle
get
it.
Right. So let's walk it out in real time. So this is for the wives coming from a husband. Then you can do for the husbands coming from a wife. This is what it looks like real time. So your husband probably won't be fully honest with you because your reaction history is effing terrible. Let me just keep it real with you. So if you're wondering, is my husband honest with me? Don't wonder. Yeah. Trace back all the times he's even tried, gauge your reaction. And if your reaction history is a litany of emotional explosions, weaponization, whatever, you know for sure your husband isn't honest. Is it still on him? Sure. But let's keep it really clear and really real. That's a tough honesty premise to walk into. So let's just say your husband has an addiction. Let's pick one that everybody loves to talk about. Let's talk about porn.
Yep.
That's a good one. Christians love going there, even non-Christians. So your husband has an addiction to porn. He is faced with the honest moment of, do I tell my wife I'm battling this? And in his head, he's going, if I tell my wife that I'm struggling with this, she's going to get mad. She's going to make it about her. She's going to get more insecure. She's going to withhold sex. And our relationship's going to get even icier. So how about I not be honest with her and try to work it out on my own?
Right.
He has been preconditioned, right or wrong, to not be honest.
Well, because women straight away are going to, our first thing we do is compare ourselves.
Yep.
So when it comes to porn, I think the biggest thing for women is getting over the fact that, or maybe people don't even know this, but getting over the fact that it's not about you.
Mm-mm.
This is addiction is not about you.
Yeah.
And I think so many women can't handle that.
Yeah.
That fact.
Well, a lot of young women who are on the newer side of marriage, we don't laugh at them, but it's understandable. But you've had so much, not by your own design, education about sex addiction, about sexual trauma, about hidden secrets where because I've told you so much about some of that stuff, like wives who think porn is about them and how they don't measure up. Like that's the lowest hanging fruit to stand on.
Right.
Like, let me get this straight. Like, I can't believe you would do that. Am I not enough? You'll never be enough.
Right.
There's not a woman in the world who's enough for a man whose brain is broken.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It makes it difficult, but there's a higher road to step up to, which is, okay, yes, this is hurtful, but there's something way deeper than you not being enough.
And that takes a lot of
work
and education and understanding to get to that point for a woman, and I get that. But you can get there, and you can try to figure out and understand what that is.
Yeah.
And that's where therapy can come into play for even that type of addiction, because it's a sex addiction. And so that's something that a lot of women just kind of freak out about, which is that's okay, but you can get help for that.
But the reaction
is
that most men get is so severe.
Well, they're not going to talk about it.
It aids and abets their lack of confidence that I can talk about this. So they don't talk to their wife. They're definitely not going to talk to their, a lot of times their closest friends because they don't want to look bad. And now you've got a guy who is developing a pattern of a very sinister, hard, evil thing floating around that becomes a pattern in your life that leads to absolute disaster.
Right.
Not every guy that struggles looking at porn is going to go on to be an adulterer and to be a guy who's living a double life. That's not the case for everybody. But I will say it could be a beautiful moment for a relationship for someone to say, if you struggle with that, I'm going to take the big leap and go, yeah, it's hurtful because I'm supposed to be the object of your desire.
Yeah. But
I am cognizant, and I've showed you so much research on this and given you case studies of like the women who make it. I can't believe that I wouldn't be enough. Why can you not believe that?
Yeah.
You thought you were going to be enough. It doesn't work like that.
No.
God gives guys grace. He gives men grace to be able to stay disciplined, to stay locked in, but it's not about enough. What is enough? What does that even mean? Because when you're on a porn cycle, that's the whole point of that dopamine click. It's never going to be enough. That's why you go from one video to two videos. That's why you guys who will look at, when I was in rehab, I talked to guys who would spend hours upon hours upon hours looking at porn. And it had nothing to do with how beautiful or not beautiful their wife was. It had nothing to do with how much sex they did or did not have. They had sexual trauma that broke something in them that must be fixed, that must be healed. So all that to say, you got to be prepared to be able to handle the honesty that you're asking for.
Yeah.
And you can spin it.
I mean,
what does
the
it look like
the same for husbands,
so speak
though.
from as a wife to the husbands about why their wife might not be honest.
Well, if they're feeling emotionally, sexually unfulfilled, anything like that, where they don't feel seen by their husband, anything like that, they're not going to talk about that because the same thing. They know that if they're honest, they're scared to be honest because they know that the reaction from their husband is going to be awful. And it's going to end up in probably some sort of rage fight or something.
I don't fulfill you.
And then it becomes about insecurity and all of those things. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So the honesty part it can be hard, but it's something that I think for a healthy relationship, you have to go there.
You got to fight for it.
Yeah.
And it's the how could you?
Yeah.
That every man dreads. It's like, how could I? If I knew, I wouldn't be in this spot. And I think there's like, you just hit it on the head. Even as a guy, if I say, I want you to be honest with me, Laura, am I meeting your needs? I have to really check my motives to make sure that this is not going to be about me.
Right.
Because we actually had a fight like that one time where I asked you one question about you and it turned into a fest of me.
Well, it became
what I wasn't doing. You had a genuine need.
It just was a trigger for you.
And it just triggered every insecurity I have about me, putting you in a position of vulnerability, taking away friends that you love, like all this stuff. And then I stopped midway through and I said, I'm so sorry that your vulnerable share just
became
turned
about
into
you.
me being mad at you. That's not healthy. So I think there's some beautiful ground here that can be taken by whoever wants the honesty. And we'll get to that in a second, how to prepare for it. But let's just say your husband is discouraged and he's hopeless and he's battling depression. Do you think, as the wife, that the response is going to be something of grace, dignity, respect? Because often that's kind of what's been part of the reason he ended up there in the first place. He already feels like crap. And there's very rarely will a man go to his wife, hey, I feel like I don't have a purpose. I feel like I'm failing as a dad.
They're not.
I feel like I'm not.
Most aren't going to say that.
No, they're not.
They're just going to stuff it down and struggle with it, and it comes out in different ways.
And all of it leads to a lack of honesty, which leads to disconnection, which leads to dysfunction that has serious pain attached to it. So I think all of your power as a couple is in your honesty. And what's funny is that, especially from our Jesus following perspective, you look right to the right in culture, and there are people who are living lifestyles that we may or may not agree with or adhere to, but they're going to bed more honest than a lot of Christians are.
Absolutely.
So the couple that goes, we're ethically non-monogamous. Fantastic title. I get
Great.
it. Okay, cool.
I didn't know what that means.
But they do have honesty, where there's a lot of Christian couples who will profess to follow Jesus, and they'll put their head down every night, and it'll be on top of the pillow that's on top of a ton of
Because they're
lies.
hiding secrets and lies.
So you can judge the worldly people out there with their open marriage. They got honesty that you don't have. Do
Right.
we subscribe to it? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is the point is honesty gives you confidence, and it gives you power. And if it's going in the right direction, my gosh, how much power. So I think that's a check for everybody to say what might be in between us that we might not talk about. So here's one thing that you can do today to prepare for a more honest relationship. You got to prepare for an honest chapter. We don't suggest cannonballing into this. It's like, all right, I heard the podcast. I'm going to go home.
I'm going to write
I've
my
hated
list.
you, woman. You're the reason why I've been stuck in high school. You're the reason why I didn't pursue my dream of the NFL.
God.
We don't suggest the cannonball. If you have no honesty and no equity, it's probably not the best time to get to that right now. I think there's a way to prepare for an honest chapter, and it's working on yourself. It's practicing with a therapist. It's sounding out some of these thoughts.
Well, that's the beauty of therapy as well. Some of these things can be brought to a therapist before you bring them. I know in a lot of our journey
my
has been,
gosh.
you've had to work through some things with the therapist before you bring it to me, and vice versa. I've had to work through things and be like, how do I talk about this? How do I say, all of those things are really helpful.
Yeah.
Instead of just blurting it out and knowing you're.
Well, yeah, you know my,
You're
and
gonna
you've allowed me
offend
the
someone.
grace to, and you've trusted me. There have been times in our marriage, last 5 years, where I go, I'm not going to continue this because I want to check it with Alex, my therapist, to make sure this could be a me thing.
Yeah.
Before I say something hurtful, let me make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, much to my dismay,
You're wrong.
it's on me. So I'm about to say something that I feel is honest.
Yes.
And when really I go back and I look at it, I'm like, that's actually, yeah, I felt honest at the time, but the truth is I need to do A, B, and C. So I'm expecting something of you that isn't even real.
Right.
So if you're ready, prepare for an honest chapter. Start doing some work on yourself. Start gauging how safe the person you love really feels. And I think it's a beautiful place to land. So when the time is right, big idea. We do this often, and it's great. This is a date night question. Once you get things cooking, what's one thing you're very hesitant to share with me because you think I'll react? Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a safe place to do it in a restaurant or somewhere because, they
Right.
can't get mad.
Right. And again, you don't want to cannonball. Like, actually, I'm kind of hesitant to say I might leave you.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah,
my
maybe-
eye.
maybe not.
I've got my eye on somebody, and I just wanted to throw it out there. So you said to be honest, like that guy, immediately spins everything to be toxic. You said to be honest. I don't like you. It's like,
No, it
that's
is a
not
good
what we're
question,
saying.
though.
Yeah. What's What's something that you're hesitant to share because you're afraid of my reaction? And once you get there, our experience with that has been, I've walked away feeling like, God, make me stronger. So my wife never feels like she can't share that. It's never been like, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
It's been like, dang it, you could have told me that. I'm so sorry I put you in a position to feel like I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Will you give me an opportunity?
Right.
That's a lot. I feel like it's on point because fighting well is what leads to a beautiful, incredible relationship.
Honest relationship.
Honest as can be. And because we're now perfect. That's the great thing about going through what we've been through. We're perfect. We are experts. But I will say, because it is such an honor to be able to talk about this, because there is truth in this. There's a lot of hope in this. And people accept a life of bickering, fighting, and then you got the guys who sit at the bar cracking beers. I can't stand going home. And you got the wives and their weird little book clubs. It's like, Carl, don't have such a sexist thing to say.
Book club.
You just went to the biggest.
You just went to the those are
sexist
amazing
tropes ever. Guys popping beers, women in book clubs. I'm just trying to keep it relevant over here.
Oh my gosh.
But people just accept this. So I like this. This is what we do still. Okay? If you are in line for a beautiful, healthy relationship, remind yourself of the relationship you want.
Yeah.
And then write down the relationship you have. Now look at the gap.
That's good.
And the first stop is you. Where is this on me? What can I change? What can I do? And what can I get honest about? And after you've done that, now you get a really good look at things to pray about, point to, speak to, get vulnerable about. But that to me is one of the quickest ways to get there. So if you're like, all right, what's the relationship that I want to have? I want to have one that is this, 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 and that. What do I have right now? It's this, and it's that, and it's that. That gap, it takes two to tango, but half of that road is yours.
Yeah.
So it's a really empowering place. Both of us have been there when you've been tripping on something, and it's been very rare. But there are areas where I'm like, I did my work, girl.
You better have plenty.
Up. You better saddle up, Bessie.
I have plenty.
You better saddle up, girl, because I've done my work. That void is on you.
Yeah.
And vice versa. There have been times you looked at me and you said, that's not on me.
Right.
I'm doing my job. I've done what you should need, and the rest of that's between you and God. You better take that to God.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place. So what you've never done is overlooked your role and came straight to mine. Ever. And I have in the past. And I've rectified that.
Yeah.
So before I have, you're going to cut me off with a compliment?
Yeah. I was just going to say that you have done, because of all your hard work, that you have really changed the way you communicate with us in our relationship, and seeing that, being able to feel safe enough, which is a big deal, especially with betrayal, being able to feel safe to share my feelings and to come to you and know that you're not going to come at me with whatever that is. And you always come with the question, and that's, I think, a really beautiful, beautiful thing that you've brought into your life.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you.
It. What are the other 20 things you love? Hey, also, I need to get a public service announcement in case there's other men that are dealing with this, but I like to call it the complisalt. It's a compliment that was given in an assaultive way. Mother's Day, for instance.
What did I do?
Hey, babe, did you like the flowers I got you? You went, oh, I do. They're not the ones I love, but I like them. Stung a little bit.
Well, I had specifically told you
it's
the
a compliment
flowers
and it's an assault.
I like hydrangeas, I like peonies, and that's pretty much it. And they have to be white. I like white and greens. I don't need all the mix of colors. I don't need all of that. But you did do a good job. But yeah.
But no, that's the point. It's still happening. If anybody out there can relate to a spouse or a relational person that gives you complissalts,
you're welcome.
It sounds a lot like this. For a crappy lawn guy, you did pretty good cleaning up the backyard. Still stings. Looks like this. Well, at least one of our kids is going to make it. Stings.
At least one of my kids has more my personality than yours.
That's a shot.
Is that one?
That's a shot.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just for free. That's a pro tip.
let's just if we're gonna accomplish I got nothing on that. That's the best way to end. I love you. This is
Love
huge.
you.
I think for everybody listening, you deserve a relationship that makes you better,
Yep.
that makes you kinder, that makes you stronger, that makes you more secure. And if you're not in one that is doing that, fight for it or
get out.
hit the road,
Yeah.
Jack.
Yep.
Life is too short.
Too short, and
to
marriage is
spend-
too long,
Oh
though.
my
Do you know what I mean?
gosh.
Like, life is short,
Lord have mercy.
but marriage can be long.
The worst thing ever is not divorce. I think the worst thing ever is to be in a crappy marriage
Yep.
for decade
100%.
after decade after decade. We are believers in God's grace on marriage. We are proponents of it. We totally stand on that. And we've had to tell people that have been in, whether it's abuse, toxic, over and over again, like, hey, at the end of the day, you need to survive and live.
Some of this
and
stuff
thrive.
gets old.
You gotta-
Get
you got-
out.
You got to make
Yeah.
some changes. So, what's the relationship you want?
Yep.
What's the relationship you have? What's the bridge? Let's get to work.
Yeah, that's good.
Lights on.
Lights off.
Roberto Duran, it's been a pleasure.
Hopefully next time I won't have this.
I love you.
Love you.
See you soon.